and welcome back to the GavGoesIn podcast. How we all doing today, guys? Big up to Sham. Yes, Sham, big up, man. Guys, make sure, you're subscribing to my channel and you're smashing that like button. As I said, guys, I'm only a few short of 1K, so I want to say I'm 12 off of 1K. So, again, if you do like the stream, then make sure you smash that like button and make sure you subscribe to my channel. Big up Sham, big up Reluctant Gamer, big up bro, big up each and every time. So guys, Manchester City closed the gap to 3 points on second place Arsenal. And we're going to get into that in a bit. But, obviously having watched the game yesterday, I think it was a bit of a close game, to be honest. And I think Wolves could find themselves a bit hard done by that they didn't at least get a draw. I think a lot of it was I think a lot of it was their own doing. I think in terms of the chances missed by them, I think there was a shot by Ryan Ait-Nouri that hit the post, and then they had the chance where Bellegarde overhit the pass to Manetzi, where he was stretching for the ball, and obviously eventually went out for, I believe, a goal kick. So Matthias Cunha, making to be honest, had a very good performance in my opinion. I know he come off towards the second half, but there's little things that he was doing, that is going to get the big clubs, taking notice of his ability, and again, Man United are the favourites for Cunha, as what is reported, but I'm actually surprised that there's no other teams that are actually coming in for him, unless he's told, his agent that he only wants Man United. Then I'm actually surprised that there's no other teams that are actually interested, because someone of that talent that can be bought with the release clause that he has, for me he needs to he does need to move on. But I'm just surprised that there isn't other clubs that are at least interested in him. But yeah, I thought he played well. But ultimately in the end, I think Wolves were on a 5 or 6 game winning streak, and that came to an end yesterday. But I think Wolves can be happy with their end to the season. Definitely their manager has brought something different to their team. And, they've got 2 players for me in Ryan Ait-Nouri and Matthias Cunha that could easily go and play for the top clubs in the league and abroad as well. So it'd be interesting to see what happens to Ait-Nouri. But obviously Cunha has that release clause. So we'll have to see where he ends up. Big up to Warrior Cats is the best. Yeah, big up. Guys, as I said, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'm only 12 short of 1K. So yeah, big up yourselves each and every time. So guys, I'm going to go through a couple of the stats from the game, and then we're going to get on to some other pressing matters, because, I've been saying this for the best part of 2 weeks now. I think there's a real possibility, that City, after the season they've had, could finish a place higher, and we'll get into that. But big up yourselves. So just gonna go through some of the notes. So City had 9 shots yesterday to Wolves' 6, and obviously watching the game, as I said, it was a close game for me. And I think in terms of the shots on target, only 2 for City, and then 1 for Fulham. And you can see that in the game. It was a tight game. And as I said, I think the fact that it only ended up 1-0, I think you can see how well Wolves played for me. And the possession stats, again, no surprise, 64% to Man City, and then the 36% to Wolves, which you'd expect for City, whether they're at home or away, to dominate possession. And big up to Laura Higgins, big up to Ollie Walker. And in the passes was 684 passes to 380. Again, no surprise there. City at home always dominate the ball. And then the pass accuracy was 90% to 83% of Wolves. And in the corners, Wolves actually had more corners than City, 5 to 4. So, as I said, in terms of the stats-wise, it probably was ideal that it was a 1-0 game, and I think having watched that game, as I said, there wasn't much in it. You know, I think City just showed that bit more quality. Obviously, the goal from Kevin De Bruyne, good play from Jeremy Doku, and I think Doku wasn't actually looking for Kevin De Bruyne, because if you look at the cross was actually scuffed. But I think De Bruyne done well to get good contact onto the ball, and then if you look at Jose Sa, he was actually going the wrong. He was actually going to the other corner, you know, and De Bruyne kind of gave him the eyes, and then just reversed it, you know. But as I said, 1-0. I think the main thing for City was just getting the 3 points, and for me, that cements their place into the top five, because we're gonna go through their next few fixtures, and for me, I think definitely, you know, that's them confirmed into the Champions League places. Big up to Gamer. Gamer says Wolves done good. Unfortunately, could get one goal. Had some chances. Yeah, Wolves had chances, and I think the key chance was the one that Bellegarde overhit for Menezzi. I think if he gets that, you know, if he gets the weighter pass right, then I think, you know, Wolves would have given City something else to think about. But again, in football, it's fine margins, and if you don't get these things spot on, then unfortunately, these things come back to bite you, such as the quality of Man City. Big up to Promi Nusrat, says Wolves is she. To be honest with you, Wolves are actually a good team, so I disagree. I think this manager's come in and made them, you know, solid defensively. You know, again, if they would have beaten Man City yesterday, then they would have, I think they would have been the best team this season in terms of winning the most amount of games in a row, which is crazy to think that Liverpool have won the league, and obviously the other teams that are higher up in the league than Wolves. But Wolves, if they would have beat City yesterday, I think they'd have been, I don't know if it was six games won in a row, which no other team has done this season. So yeah, I think they're actually a good team. And as I said, they've got two players in their team that could easily go and play for any of the teams in the league for me, you know. Big up to the Oily Maniac. Yeah, I'm good, bro. What's happening, man? I'm good. Guys, again, if you're just coming through now, make sure you subscribe to my channel and make sure you smash that like button if you enjoy the content. And obviously check out my other content as well. And again, I'm only a few subscribers short of 1K, guys. So again, man, if you do like the stream, you know, help support the channel, smash that like button and subscribe. Big up to Harry Vilicic. Is that Serbian? Is that Serbian, Vilicic? But big up yourself. Celtic champions, yeah. I think, wasn't that confirmed? I saw that was confirmed last week, no? Wasn't that confirmed last week? You know, I think Celtic have got, as a reluctant gamer will know as well, they've got a certain winger in their team that I think, you know, he could. I think if he was to come to the Premiership, then you know, I think he'll do well, and that's Nicholas Kuhn. I think he's a good player. You know, left-footed. You know, plays on the right. He'd be a good signing for most clubs in the league. You know, I know Newcastle was actually looking at him as well. Whether that's still a possibility, I don't know. Promi says Wolves is so bad, bro. They had a lot of chances, so bad. Yeah, as I said, I disagree. You know, just because they had chances and didn't take them, that doesn't mean that they're bad. I mean, if we look at the three teams that got relegated, you know, you could say that they're bad. But I think Wolves, in terms of the quality they have in their team, if you look at the two midfielders, the two Brazilians, Andre and João Gomes, again, they're two players that, again, can go and play for some of the better teams in the league, you know. And their combination is very good. You know, you look at, I say, Ait Nouri and Cunha, I already mentioned them. Strand Larsen's got goals this season. You know, they've brought in the centre-back, Agbadu, who's been good. Toti Gomez as well. Jose Sar's a Premier League good goalkeeper. You know, who else they got there? Yeah, they've got some good players, man. So I wouldn't go as far as saying that they're bad. I think in terms of the quality, when it really matters, again, it was lacking yesterday. Even though I do think that Ait Nouri hitting the post and having one clear off the line was quite unlucky. But as I said, yeah, they have got quality in their team for sure. Promi says Barca will cook. Listen, I hope so, man. Arsenal, Barcelona need to be in that final, and hopefully it's against PSG for me. Um, so Gamer says we won 9 in a row. Who? Newcastle? What, this season? Newcastle haven't won 9 in a row. Um, Oily Maniac says Arsenal to win Champions League. Yeah, that's wishful thinking, man. For Arteta's sake, you want to hope that's right because, as I said, if he doesn't win, if he doesn't get through against PSG, it's going to be panic stations for the fan base. But we will be there, and we'll have to wait and see. But guys, what I want to get onto, again, is yeah, big up gamer. I'm talking about the league. So if Wolves would have beat City yesterday, they would have won, I believe, 6 games in a row in the Premier League. So yeah, that would have been. I think no other team's done that this season. So yeah. But guys, what I want to get onto, and I've mentioned in my description, that I believe today's game for Arsenal against Bournemouth for me is going to be. I would say at this moment in time is going to be arguably their biggest game of the season. I know people are going to say the PSG one, but obviously this game is today, and the PSG one is on Wednesday. For me, this is going to be Arsenal's biggest game of the season, and I tell you why. Because the fact that City beat Wolves yesterday, City now 3 points behind Arsenal in second. And obviously the goal difference, I believe, is 10. I think it's 10 plus 10 goal difference, which, again, can be overturned if, obviously, if Arsenal do concede and City score, But you would say that's obviously firmly in Arsenal's favour. But I think the fact that City won this game yesterday and got over the line, Arsenal now need to win this game because Arsenal's next 4 fixtures are Bournemouth today, then they got Liverpool away next Saturday, Newcastle at home, and then they've got Southampton away for the last game of the season, But the problem is, by the time, if Arsenal don't win today's game, even if they get a point, it's gonna be panic stations because by the time Arsenal play Liverpool, if they don't win this game today against Bournemouth, City have got Southampton away, and you'd expect City to win that game comfortably. Obviously, Southampton already down, and City will know what's at stake. So by the time Arsenal play Liverpool next week, if they don't beat Bournemouth or at least get a point, City could be either joint points with them or 1 point behind, depending. So this is why I'm saying Arsenal's game today is arguably, for me, their biggest game of the season. Because if they don't beat Bournemouth, I'll go as far as saying that City will finish in second place. That's how big the game is, And obviously Arsenal have got Champions League to think about. So you would expect that Arteta is going to change at least 4 or 5 of the players, And for me, if he doesn't, and Arsenal don't win this game, and then they go to PSG and don't win, it's all over for Arsenal for me. Because I believe the game today against Bournemouth, is massive for Arsenal. Because I expect PSG to go through with the quality they have. And again, Arsenal's next 3 fixtures after this Bournemouth game is Liverpool away, Newcastle at home, and Southampton away. And I think realistically, the only team I can see them picking up 3 points against is Southampton away, which is the last game of the season. But the thing is, if City win all their games, because City have got Southampton away, Bournemouth at home, and Fulham away, and you'd expect City to win all those games, regardless what Arsenal do, if they beat Southampton but don't get a win against either Bournemouth, Newcastle, or Liverpool, City will finish above them in second place. And I tell you now, that will be one of the biggest failures of Arsenal's season. To win nothing again, to finish behind City, who have been relatively poor by their standards. Arteta for me will come under huge criticism, and rightfully so. So my thing is, this game today with Arsenal, Arsenal need to win this game desperately. As I said, I don't think a draw is even good enough, because a draw opens it up for Man City, because we would assume Man City are going to beat Southampton, and then, as I said, by the time Arsenal play Liverpool, it could be joint points or 1 point behind, and you would assume that Liverpool, Arsenal would probably drop points against Liverpool, or worst case scenario for them, get beat. And then, as I said, that's going to open it up for Man City. However, I think if Arsenal was to beat Bournemouth today, I think you probably go as far as saying that they can finish second, because obviously the gap would be slightly significant for me. And again, I think the most points that City can get to is 73. They're on 64 now. The most that Arsenal can get to with the 4 games is 79, So that's why I'm saying this game today for Arsenal, is their biggest game of the season for me, because they're going to have to find a way, of resting players for the Champions League game on Wednesday and getting through this game today as well with a win. And again, Bournemouth have been playing very well this season. They're going to be angry as well at the fact that they've conceded a last-minute goal to United with a sending off that has now been rescinded. And also, I think that they're gonna fancy their chances. And Arsenal obviously have got key injuries to a couple of players in attack, but I think that, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what team Arteta plays today, to be fair, because I think they're going to be in serious trouble if they don't manage to get a win, and as I said, expect a meltdown from this fan base, But do I believe that City get a trophy in Champions League, and into the Champions League? I do. I think against Crystal Palace, I actually think that's going to be a tough game in the FA Cup final for City. But I think the experience and the know-how of Pep, I think he'll get them over the line. It's not going to be an easy game, because big up to Nasty, because in Mateta, Ismaila Sarr and Eze, they've got 3 players there that will cause all sorts of problems for any team. And City are going to need to make sure that they're on form, really. But I can see them, as I said, I think yesterday's result for me, I think that secures them into the top 5 definitely for Champions League football, because again, their next few fixtures, you would assume that they would definitely win that, and starting with Southampton away, again, if they win that game, that closes the gap to Arsenal, and that will secure them in there as well. So that's why yesterday's game for them was massive. And again, the fact that it was only 1-0, they still got over the line. So yeah. Sham says Arsenal will be the biggest bottlers if Man City takes second by the end of the season. Listen, I agree. And you've heard it here first. City finished second, because it's all on today's game. As I said, if they don't beat Bournemouth, I'll go as far as saying City finished second, based on Arsenal's next 2 fixtures, should I say? Because the Southampton one, you'd expect them to win, but based on City's next 3 fixtures, I expect City to win all of them. Which I think they will do as well. So yeah, but yeah, Arsenal will be the biggest bottlers, because to be second for that amount of time and then get beat right at the end, and by a team that hasn't really been to the standard, that's going to be a hard one for their fan base to take. So yeah, that's what I think. Nasty says Newcastle versus Brighton will be tough. Yeah, it will be. Is Newcastle at home for that game? Because I believe isn't that game? Well, in actual fact, is that actually today? Is that actually today? I think it might be. I think if Newcastle was to win that game, their penultimate game will be against Arsenal away. And again, it's going to be a game where if Newcastle can avoid defeat against Arsenal and beat Brighton today, and again, Brighton haven't really got much to play for. You know, I think they're a few points off of the European places, I believe. So you'd expect Newcastle. If Newcastle are at home, I'd say Newcastle win that game. Oh, they're playing away tomorrow. Okay, so do you know what? That will be tough. You know, that will be tough. You know, I think Joe Linton as well is out for the season, which is going to be a massive miss against Brighton and against Arsenal as well. But yeah, no, I think I think that he's a crucial part of how they play, and especially in their midfield. And I think him not playing, you know, it could change. I know they got Joe Willock that can come in, you know, and he offers the legs as well, you know, and a goal threat. So you know, they might be all right there. But yeah, it's going to be a tough game. So again, this is where the season end. Coming to the end of the season, this is when it starts getting interesting now, because you know there's a few teams there that are playing for something, you know. And as I said, for me, Arsenal, it's all on them. Big up to Harry Villachich. Harry says, "Do you play Fortnite?" No, I don't. I keep hearing about this Fortnite, but yeah, I've never played Fortnite. Obviously, I've seen what it is, but no, I don't play Fortnite, man. I got bigger and better things to do, man. Personally, you know. But I'm guessing you do. But yeah, big up yourself. So yeah, guys, what's the fixtures for today? I know Aston Villa are beating Fulham right now, and again, for me, Aston Villa getting into the Champions League places, you know, it's going to be a bit of a tough ask, but you know, but all they can keep doing is just keep reading off the games and see where it takes them. But it'd be a bit of a tough ask, I think, for them to get in the Champions League places now, I'd say. But Ollie Watkins, you know, if he scores today, he breaks the record for the most amount of goals scored by an Aston Villa player, you know, so that would be a great achievement for him. Okay, so let's see the fixtures. So Everton playing Ipswich. I think Everton win that game. Obviously, Ipswich already down, and Everton at home as well. So I think I'd expect Everton to win that. And again, if Everton win today, that pushes United back down a place until they play tomorrow against Brentford, which is going to be a tough game. Leicester Southampton, yeah, that's a bit of a dead game. Two relegated teams. And then, yeah, Arsenal Bournemouth at 5:30. So, yeah, as I said, it's Arsenal's most important game of the season for me. You know, their most important game. And I said, if they don't win that game against Bournemouth, Man City are gonna win. Man City will beat them to second place. That's my opinion. If you disagree, then again, put that in the chat. Again, make sure you smash that like button, guys, and subscribe to my channel. Yeah. So who's playing tomorrow? I know obviously you got Brentford and Man United. I think Tottenham are playing tomorrow as well. Liverpool, okay, Liverpool, Chelsea. Again, Liverpool are going to need to, Liverpool obviously getting the guard of honour, but Chelsea at home. Chelsea obviously chasing the Champions League places. Again, I don't think Chelsea can. I think the only team that can pip Arsenal to second is Man City for me, because based on Man City's fixtures, and Chelsea have got a tough run in as well. But if Chelsea can beat Liverpool tomorrow, then I think you have to fancy Chelsea getting into the top 5 as well. West Ham Spurs. Okay, so I think West Ham. I think West Ham at least, because the London derby as well. But I would say West Ham at least get a point from this game, because I think Tottenham are going to change the majority of their whole 11 to rest them. Well, to rest them against the for the second leg against who they called again. Guys, help me out. Who are Tottenham playing? Bodo Glimt. That's the one. Bodo Glimt. So I think West Ham at least get a point at home, you know. And again, in terms of the league places, you know, it's very tight down there. I think you got West Ham in 17th on 36 points, I think. I think Tottenham are on 37, Everton are on 38, Man United on 39. So again, you know, you've got 4 teams there in West Ham, Tottenham, Everton, and Man United that is separated by a point, by 1 point. And again, I expect Everton to beat Ipswich today, which will put United back down a place again. West Ham and Spurs are both playing each other. If there's a winner there and United don't beat Brentford, then again, United get pushed back down into the league, back down to the league table. So United could actually find themselves by the end of the weekend, if they don't beat Brentford and the other teams get wins, United could find themselves in 16th place in the league, which for me is unacceptable. But again, Europa League is what everyone's looking at, really. So we'll have to wait and see. Oh yeah, Palace and Forest on Monday. Yeah, you know what? I think if Nottingham Forest don't beat Palace, and again away from home is going to be hard, I think we can comfortably say that Forest won't get into the top six, into the Champions League, because I think their form of late hasn't been good, and this is a game that they desperately need 3 points against Crystal Palace, and obviously Palace will have the FA Cup coming up, so they might be wanting to rest a few players or take it easy in a sense. But it's a must-win game for Nottingham Forest. And I think if Nottingham Forest don't win the game, I think they can kiss by their hopes to Champions League for me on Monday. It will be a very tough game. Sham says, West Ham have been just as poor as Spurs and Man United this season. They've got nothing to play for in the league. Yeah, I agree. I mean, Graham Potter coming in, I think when he first came in, I think they had a couple of good results. But I think as of late, they've been pretty poor. I think they got beat in their last game as well. I think with West Ham, I'm more looking at their players, the likes of Kudus, the likes of Lucas Paqueta. Because I think you've got two players there, again, just like Ait Nouri and Cunha. You've got two players there that should be playing for the best teams in the league, the top six for me. So I want to see in the summer if if there's going to be any teams trying to test West Ham's resolve for either player. I think West Ham will ask for a bit of money for both players. But I think these two players for me need to be, for the betterment of their career, they need to be playing for teams that are competing for honours, And as I said, what teams will come in for them? There's a few teams that I believe that should be in for them. Again, if Newcastle could get a Kudus, I'm saying Newcastle in particular, because as good as Jacob Murphy has been, for me, there's a glaring hole in their team in terms of getting someone in that position, and having Jacob Murphy as the backup. And there's no harm in him being the backup, because he has been very good this season. But for Newcastle to go to the next level, if they can get a Mbuemo or a Kudus on that right-hand side as a left-footed inverted, that will take their team up another level for me, And so Newcastle's one for Kudus. Paqueta, if they were looking at replacing De Bruyne, Paqueta for me would be a great addition to Man City's team. Although I think, the only player that they should be looking at Man City in that position is Florian Wirtz. But yeah, Man City, because Man City were interested in Paqueta as well before. I think it was it 70 million that they offered, I think it might have been, which got rejected. And obviously he had his betting scandal as well. But I think he's definitely one that can play for Man City. I look at Liverpool for Paqueta. Yeah, I could see it. I could see it, to be fair. I could see him in place of Dominic Szoboszlai, although on a slot might like Szoboszlai's pressing, I think as a footballer, Paqueta is better. Kudos definitely for Liverpool, but again, Salah signed a new contract. If they're looking at someone to eventually take over from Salah, I think Kudos is the ideal player for that. Man United definitely, there's no, obviously we're not in the top six, but Man United definitely could do with a Kudus and Paqueta. So yeah, I think Arsenal, Kudus definitely, but again, you got Saka, who's the main guy there. Wanyeri can't even get game time, And again, Kudus is a player that should be starting for Arsenal, but playing him on the left, obviously they like the inverted, so I don't see that happening. Chelsea. Again, they've got Neto, they've got William Esteval coming in. Obviously, Madueke is still there as well. So he's good enough to play for them, but I don't see them going in for him because of what they've got already. But yeah, I think there is teams that would be interested in signing these players, but I think the money has to be right, and whether West Ham would be entertaining any offers for me, But we have to wait and see. So Gamer says Forest have got Chelsea last game of the season. Yeah, and that game there could possibly be whoever wins that game gets into the Champions League, depending on what Nottingham Forest do against Crystal Palace on Monday. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. So Sham says, no, I wouldn't want Paqueta at Liverpool. I wouldn't mind Kudus though. Yeah, I hear that. I think you'd more wouldn't want Paqueta at Liverpool purely because the midfield balance in terms of how Szoboszlai presses, you might prefer that. The way that I'm looking at it, if you've got Gravenberch and McAllister in there, and you've got a technician in Paqueta, that would be a good balance for me. And I think what is the selling point, the unique selling point for Paqueta as well, is that Paqueta is left-footed, and left-footed centre midfielders or attacking midfielders, they're few and far between. So, someone like Paqueta, I think he would work well at Liverpool, but it depends what Slot wants in his midfield. If he wants someone that's just going to press like Szoboszlai, then maybe Paqueta isn't the ideal solution. But if he wants to have someone in there that is creative, that can get between the lines as well, then I think he'd be a good signing for Liverpool. But Kudus would be a mad signing for Liverpool, but they're not going to go in for Kudus, not as long as Salah's there. But they might target Kudus maybe next season as the replacement for Salah. Because I look at what Salah offers in terms of his physicality, and I think the only player in the league, really, that offers that, or something similar, not in terms of goals, is Kudus, in my opinion. So, Gamer says, imagine Tonali at Liverpool. Listen, you've heard it. You've heard me say plenty of times. Out of the Liverpool's midfield, Tonali is Newcastle's best midfielder. I know many people might say Bruno Guimaraes because he's the captain and he's probably the more popular player, but Tonali is the best midfielder for me. And him at Liverpool, he would be unreal. And that midfield of Tonali, Alexis McAllister, and Gravenberch, I think I'd go as far as saying that's probably the best midfield three in the league if that was to happen as a combination. Yeah, Tonali's top player. Sham says, does Paqueta still have the betting scandal over his head? I'm not too sure. I know him and Tonali. And what makes me laugh? What is up with these central midfielders with the betting scandals? Obviously, Tonali, Paqueta. I'm not too sure, but I think for sure someone like Paqueta, he does need to, for me, does need to go to a team that is competing for honours, because I think the ability of him, he's stifling, I think, he's stifled at West Ham because of West Ham are not a team that's going to be in the top six, and I think at least that's what the likes of Paqueta and Kudus should be playing for, in my opinion, So yeah. Let's see. So yeah, that's my opinion, guys. I think I think there is a few players for me that that need to move in the summer, but whether that's gonna materialize or not, I'm not too sure. But as I said, today's game, 5:30, Arsenal Bournemouth. I'm gonna make sure I take that game in, and as I said, I think I'm more interested to see what Arteta lines up with, because I think Arteta's lineup will show me, what his intentions are. Because maybe Arteta isn't thinking of what I've said in terms of City being able to finish above them. because, as I said, they've got the Champions League game coming up, and if he doesn't rotate his team and plays a strong team against Bournemouth, and they don't win the game, and then plays the same team against PSG, you know, he could be in trouble there because, as I said, it's going to be um, panic stations for that fan base. You know, having gone out against PSG and now potentially losing second place, and that is a real possibility. So you know, he's going to be interesting to see what happens on that. But yeah, guys, big up everyone for coming on. Big up Reluctant Gamer. Big up Sham each and every time. Miseria U says, "Hi, bro. Who do you think will be in the final of the Champions League?" For me, what I say is easy. PSG for me will make the final. You know, I think they're destined to be in the final. I think in terms of the Champions League, they've played the best football all season. And they got the home tie against Arsenal, which you'd expect them to get over the line. The other tie, which is on Tuesday, Barca and Inter Milan. Again, I've said Barca from the start. I said Barca will win the Champions League. That was my prediction from the start. You know, they've got a tougher semi-final, in my opinion, against Inter Milan because going away from home, 3-3, you know, and Inter Milan defensively, you know, at home have been tight, have been good. And again, in attack, they've got threats. You know, they've got a lot of physicality in their forward line, whether it's Marcus Thuram, you know, Lautaro Martinez, Denzel Dumfries bombing on down the wing, Fede DeMarco, you know, or Augusto on the left wing back as well. So yeah, they have got players there that will cause Barca problems. But as long for me, if Pedri, Lamine Yamal, you know, if they're on their game, you'd have to fancy Barcelona. You know, as I said, they're two of the best players in the world for me. And I wonder if Lewandowski's back, because if Lewandowski is back, again, that'll make them more potent up top. But as I said, I think I'm gonna say Barca PSG final. I've said that from the start, and I think for all the footballing neutrals, footballing fans, that will be the ideal final for me. You know, two of the best footballing teams in the world, and that will be the ideal final. And again, it'll be Luis Enrique playing against his former club. You know, Ousmane Dembele playing against his former club, and it'll be interesting to see how that battle kind of pans out, man. Because, as I said, two of the best footballing sides playing in the Champions League and in the world, and that's the ideal final for me. So yeah, I'm gonna stick my neck out and say PSG and Barca in the final, but Inter Milan's not gonna be easy. That's what I will say. Yeah, big up to Sham. Big up Sham for coming on. Guys, I will be back at 4:30, so I'm gonna do a little segment on Paul Pogba to find out where his next club will be. So yeah, if you are free, make sure you're back at 4:30. But yeah, big up for coming on, Sham, each and every time. Mezaria U says, what do you think the future club for Anthony next season? Yeah, big up, gamer. Big up, bro. For me, I would like to see Anthony given a chance at least back at United. You know, because I do think that Anthony has got something to offer. But I mean, if you've got Atletico Madrid coming in for him and they want to offer between 40, 50 million euros, then the club will look at that. And if that helps him to get other players in, then so be it. But I'm just more annoyed that, you know, Anthony wasn't given more of a chance at Man United, because him playing as a wing back, you know, in combination with Ahmad, or if Ahmad was in the wing back and he was in the 10 or vice versa, you know, United for me would have had more joy this season with those two on the same side. But obviously, Amorim had other ideas, and the fact that Anthony's doing well for Betis, you know, it's not a surprise, because I think he just needed a platform, you know, and the confidence of the manager to play his game. And you can see his combination with Isco, you know, he's been doing well. So for me, I wouldn't mind seeing him back at United and at least pre-season to see what he can offer. But I think if United get an offer for him, whether it's from Atletico Madrid or otherwise, or anyone else, then I think United will look at that and take it, you know. But I would like to see him given another chance in pre-season for definite. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. Gamer says, I like Anthony as a player, just needs that good guidance. Yeah, I think there's a lot of players that need that. What frustrates me with Man United is that the wrong players, each and every time, keep given more patience than other players, and it's always the good players that get let go early, or that are forced out the club, and the shitter ones happen to stay. And I'm hoping this regime, are going to eradicate all that and just do what's best for the club in terms of, identifying who are the best players and getting rid of the ones that are not good, or that are costing the club a lot of money and not doing anything. That's what I hope, but we'll have to wait and see. But guys, big up yourselves anyway for coming on. As I said, big up to Reluctant Gamer each and every time. Big up to Sham. Big up to Mazira you as well for coming through. Guys, I'm going to be back at 4:30. As I said, Paul Pogba. A little segment on Paul Pogba, obviously to find out where his next club is going to be, or who should his next club be. I think a talent like that, is, to be fair, it's actually killing me that he's not actually back at a club playing, and I still think he has a lot to offer the Europe, and I'm hoping he does stay in Europe, at whoever team it is. But yeah, I will be doing a little segment on that at 4:30. So yeah, if you are free, guys, make sure you come back. Put your notifications on when I go live, and as I said, make sure you interact with the chat, and again, make sure you get involved, guys. And as I said, each and every time, big up yourselves. As I said, guys, I'm only a few short of 1K. So again, if you do like my content, check out my other content as well. And make sure you subscribe and make sure you smash that like button. Just one click of the button obviously helps the channel to grow. And again, on the road to 1K, only a few short. And I at least want to try and hit that by the end of next week. That's the aim. If I can do it before that, then again, that'll be good. But we have to wait and see. But big up yourselves, guys, and I'll see you back at 4:30. Take it easy.